I expected ruins.
They were. As you see, the Inquisition has not been idle.
Would it be possible to meet the Herald before we return to Ghislaine?
My dear Laurent, for you, anything. Allow me to present Inquisitor Trevelyan.
Your worship, you do us great honor.
Inquisitor, this is my dear Bastien's sister, Grand Cleric Marceline, and his son, Duke Laurent of the Council of Heralds.
Madame de Fer has told us what great trials you faced, trying to save my poor brother's life.
The Maker called my father to his side. It was valiant of you to champion him in his final hours.
If only I'd been able to save Bastien.
The Circle of Magi told Bastien many years ago that his illness was incurable. It was simply his time.
Would you mind waiting for me in the chapel, my dears? The Inquisitor and I have business to discuss.
It has been our very great pleasure, Herald.
This has been quite the triumph, hasn't it? They just adore you.
Duke Bastien's family seem quite pleasant.
Ordinarily, I would have warned you that Marceline has the temper of a hungry vulture, but she's quite taken with you. Laurent is a dear, almost as pious as his aunt, and new to a seat of great power in the Empire. And Marceline is one of the strongest voices among the Grand Clerics. Now they will both come to us for advice. The Inquisition is truly a power now, and there's no telling how far its influence will reach. But enough of this talk. Here, I have something for you. I commissioned this ring from the Formari, the greatest enchanters in all Thedas, for you.
And what comes attached to this ring, may I ask?
The friendship of all the Circle, should you need it. Once it was customary for the Circles to craft enchantments for their staunchest friends and allies. And you have been both. I must go to see my guests now. Another time, darling.
The Spy Master has confirmed it. Blackwall is gone.
Go on. Leliana knows where he is, doesn't she? She knows everything.
She doesn't know everything, yet. Sister Leliana had us search the Warden's quarters. Not much to find, except this. It was missing from last week's reports. I don't know what Blackwall's interest in this particular matter is, but it could be a good place to start.
Cyril Mornay, for your crimes against the Empire of Orlais. For the murders of General Vincent Callier, Lady Laurette Callier, their 4 children, and their retainers. You are sentenced to be hanged from the neck until dead. Do you have anything to say in your defense? Very well. Proceed.
Stop!
A Grey Warden.
This man is innocent of the crimes laid before him. Orders were given and he followed them like any good soldier. He should not die for that mistake.
Then find me the man who gave the order.
Blackwall!
No, I am not Blackwall. I never was Blackwall. Warden Blackwall is dead, and has been for years. I assumed his name to hide like a coward from who I really am.
You, after all this time.
It's over. I'm done hiding. I gave the order. The crime is mine. I am Tom Rainier. I didn't take Blackwall's life. I traded his death. He wanted me for the Wardens, but there was an ambush. Darkspawn. He was killed. I took his name to stop the world from losing a good man. But a good man, the man he was, wouldn't have let another die in his place.
I called you a friend. I trusted you. You lied.
You thought I was Blackwall. I didn't want to tell you otherwise. As Blackwall, I was something. I had a purpose. I could make amends. Why are you here?
That depends on what you say.
Don't you understand? I gave the order to kill Lord Callier, his entourage, and I lied to my men about what they were doing. When it came to light, I ran. Those men, my men, paid for my treason, while I was pretending to be a better man. This is what I am. A murderer, a traitor, a monster.
Would a monster have given himself up? Somewhere along the line, you stopped pretending.
I have Liliana's report on Tom Rainier.
Give me the overview.
Looks like our friend was once a respected captain in the Imperial Orlesian army. Before the Civil War, he was turned, persuaded to assassinate one of Celine's biggest supporters. He led a group of fiercely loyal men on this mission, and told them nothing of it. His men took the fall for him. A few lucky ones, like Mornay, managed to escape.
This is helpful, or at least educational.
Don't blame yourself. We all made this mistake. What do we do now? Blackwall... Rainier has accepted his fate, but you don't have to. We have resources. If he's released to us, you may pass judgment on him yourself.
If it were up to you, what would happen?
What he did to the men under his command was unacceptable. He betrayed their trust, betrayed ours. I despise him for it. And yet he fought as a warden, joined the Inquisition, gave his blood for our cause. And the moment he shakes off his past, he turns around and owns up to it. Why?
Some part of you is impressed by what he did, isn't it?
Saving Mornay the way he did took courage, I'll give him that. But I can't tell you what to do.
Have Rainier released to us.
We must move quickly. We can explore our options back at Skyhold.
For judgment this day, Inquisitor, I must present Captain Tom Rainier, formerly known to us as Warden Blackwall. His crimes... well, you are aware of his crimes. It was no small expense to bring him here, but the decision of what to do with him is now yours.
I didn't think this would be easy, but it's harder than I thought.
Another thing to regret. What did you have to do to release me?
Josephine called in a few favors. There are enough people out there who owe the Inquisition.
And what happens to the reputation the Ambassador has so carefully cultivated? The world will learn how you've used your influence. They'll know the Inquisition is corrupt.
I wish there'd been another way, but my options were limited.
You could have left me there. I accepted my punishment. I was ready for all this to end. Why would you stop it? What becomes of me now?
You have your freedom.
It cannot be as simple as that.
It isn't. You're free to atone as the man you are, not the traitor you thought you were, or the warden you pretended to be.
The man I am. I barely know him. But I have a lot to make up for. If my future is mine, then I pledge it to the Inquisition. My sword is yours. If I'd said anything less, would an arrow from the rookery have snuffed me like a candle?
Take your post, Tom Rainier.
Inquisitor, Do you have a moment? What were you like before the anchor? Has it affected you? Changed you in any way? Your mind? Your morals? Your spirit?
I don't believe so.
Ah.
Why do you ask?
You show a wisdom I have not seen since my deepest journeys into the ancient memories of the Fade. You are not what I expected.
What have I done that's so surprising?
Humans are short-sighted, brutish, blind to the beauty of the Fade. Their minds cast in a duality of black and white. But you have shown a subtlety in your actions. A wisdom that goes against everything I know of your people.
It seems everything you've been taught by your people has some holes in it.
I have seen enough of the world to know I was not misinformed. Most people are small, petty. But not you.
So what does this mean, Solus?
It means that I respect you deeply, Inquisitor. And I have disturbed you enough for one evening.
Inquisitor?
How shall I refer to you? Rainier or Blackwall?
I've gotten used to Blackwall. Perhaps we could treat it as less of a name and more of a title. Almost like Inquisitor. Reminds me of what I ought to be.
Everyone needs something to aspire to.
Exactly. I'm glad you understand.
Is there anything you actually know about the Wardens? Or did you make it all up?
I made very little up. I also feared you knew enough to contradict me. Warden Blackwall told me a bit before my initiation, but it is a secretive order. Not even the most senior wardens know all there is to know.
Now we know why you were never worried about Corypheus's calling.
Yes. I have none of the warden's abilities and none of the drawbacks. Still, I would have fought through the darkest pits of the deep roads like any true warden. There's more to it than being able to sense darkspawn. Warden Blackwall would have agreed.
The Wardens at Adamant listened to you. They saw you as one of their own.
Perhaps it takes an outsider to show how much of yourself you've lost. I never understood the reality of being a warden. I only saw the ideal. I suppose I reminded them of something they'd forgotten.
You have a lot of respect for the Wardens.
They take all men, from the most noble to the most despicable, and make them equals. I needed to believe something like that was possible.
Why did Blackwall want to recruit you?
He never told me. I don't know what he saw that day besides some wreck starting a bar fight. That night, I taught some village militia a painful lesson about harassing the tavern girl. Didn't know I had an audience.
I can see why the Warden was impressed.
You're assuming my intentions were noble. Told the girl to keep the wine coming. She couldn't, not with those louts bothering her. Something had to be done.
We'll continue this another time. It's time to plan our next attack. What's the state of the Inquisition?
Our alliance with Orlais holds, for the present. They'll send aid on request.
And your actions at Adamant denied Corypheus his army of pet demons. With Orlais' support, our numbers match his. Corypheus's followers must be panicking.
My agents agree. Our victories have shaken his disciples.
Perhaps they'll rethink following the Darkspawn Magister from the dawn of time. Where is Corypheus now?
After you dealt with the Duchess, Corypheus uprooted his major strongholds. He's moving south to the Arbor Wilds. His army clearly wasn't prepared to flee. Our victories have them on the defensive.
We strike Corypheus now, while his people are reeling. If he's hiding in the Arbor Wilds, that's where we finish him.
But what is Corypheus doing in such a remote area?
His people have been ransacking elven ruins since Haven. We believe he seeks more. What he hopes to find, however, continues to elude us.
Which should surprise no one. Fortunately, I can assist.
I'll ignore that you wandered in without knocking. You have my attention.
What Corypheus seeks in those Forgotten Woods is as ancient as it is dangerous.
Which is?
'Tis best if I show you. This is an Illuvian, an elven artifact from a time long before their empire was lost to human greed. I restored this one at great cost, but another lies within the Arbor Wilds. That is what Corypheus seeks.
You can restore an artifact like this?
There was a price, but one I gladly paid. I found legends of an elven temple within the Arbor Wilds. Untouched. It proved too dangerous to approach, and thus I turned elsewhere to find my prize. If Corypheus has turned southward, he could succeed where I failed. The Illuvian would be his.
What does it do?
A more appropriate question would be, where does it lead? If this place once had a name, it has long been lost. I call it the Crossroads, a place where all Illuvians join, wherever they might be.
This place is extraordinary. How could this even exist?
Who can say? Formed from the fabric of time and space, perhaps. The ancient elves left no roads, only ruins hidden in far-flung corners. This is how they traveled between them. As you can see, most of the mirrors are dark, broken, corrupted, or unusable. As for the rest, a few can be opened from this side, but only a few.
What do you mean, a few can be opened from this side?
Some of the Illuvians have been left unlocked, like doors accidentally left ajar. All others are closed. They can be opened only from beyond.
Opened how?
With a key.
I suppose you have such a key?
The key can be many things. Each Illuvian is different. I have knowledge as well as power. Often that is enough.
This place isn't natural. It almost seems constructed. It's as if someone made a pocket within the Fade with its own rules of reality. If the ancient elves could do this...
It seems remarkable that the Magisters of Tevinter could ever challenge them. Yes.
It's deteriorating. Eventually this place will simply collapse on itself.
Who can say how old it is? For now it stands, and thus retains its value.
How did you find out about this place?
My travels have led me to many strange destinations, Inquisitor. Once, they led me here. It offered sanctuary.
Sanctuary?
Not all the mirrors lead back to our world. The ancients were nothing if not resourceful.
If they don't lead back to our world, then
Places between, like this one. I can describe it no better. For a time, I had a safe place to raise my son. But only for a time. One cannot remain in between forever.
Corypheus wants to come here.
This is not the Fade, but it is very close. Someone with enough power could tear down the ancient barriers.
And enter the Fade in the flesh, like Corypheus wanted to do with the Anchor.
He learned of the Alluvian in the Arbor Wilds as I did. He marshals the last of his forces to reach it. You have made Corypheus desperate, Inquisitor. We must work together to stop him, and soon. I imagine your forces will be heading into the Arbor Wilds very soon, Inquisitor. Trust me when I say that wherever the Alluvian is hidden, it is worth any effort to prevent Corypheus from acquiring it.
You seem to know a great deal about elven law.
The Dalish are not the only ones interested in the distant past, Inquisitor. Indeed, my skills allow me access to places the Dalish dare not even dream of. The ancient elves hold secrets they have not yet given up. Secrets about the foundation of Thedas itself. Thus, they are my focus. Corypheus clearly feels the same.
Now that you've seen the Inquisition up close, what are your impressions?
'Tis remarkable what you have built. I will give you that. Soldiers are camped outside Skyhold in numbers that would give any nation pause. All this in precious little time, conjured from thin air through the power of fervor alone. I wonder if Corypheus suspected what he was enabling, just as I wonder what will become of all this once he is defeated.
We have to defeat him first. Then I'll worry about what's next.
Should that happen, the world will lie at your feet, more or less. Beware the heights you reach, Inquisitor. When this is done, many will be eager to knock you back down.
My friend.
I'd be interested in hearing your opinions on elven culture.
Perhaps you could ask Settrah. She has opinions.
You don't much care for Sarah, do you?
I pity her. Although I imagine she would detest that. Perhaps in truth, I envy her. She has a purity of purpose that I lack. I have observed too much and done too little. What do you wish to know?
I'd like to know more about the elves from before our time.
The Dalish strive to remember Hallam Shiral. But Hallam Shiral was merely a fumbling attempt to recreate a forgotten land.
Arlathan.
Elvanan was the Empire, and Arlathan its greatest city. Place of magic and beauty, lost to time.
You've studied ancient elves. What else do you know of Arlathan?
We hear stories of them living in trees, and imagine wooden ramps or Dalish Erebels. Imagine instead spires of crystal twining through the branches, palaces floating among the clouds. Imagine beings who lived forever, for whom magic was as natural as breathing. That is what was lost.
I'd like to know more about the Dalish elves.
It is a mistake to think of the Dalish as a single group. They have lived as separate clans for centuries now. As a consequence, each clan has learned, interpreted, and forgotten different parts of elven history. Some trade freely with humans, or adopt city elves who flee the alienages. Others attack humans on sight.
What can you tell me about elves living in human cities?
The culture in alienages or among the slaves of Tevinter is like any of the impoverished and powerless. They cling to memories of a better past, and practice a few rituals to distinguish themselves from humans.
I've heard tales that Dalish magic is different from the magic I learned in the Circle.
No and yes. Magic is magic, just as water is water, but it can be used in different ways. Dalish magic is more practical, not needing chantry approval, although they still frown on blood magic. Superstition. Much of it is more subtle. A legacy from when elves were immortal.
The legends of elven immortality. Did they use magic to increase their lifespan?
No. It was simply part of being Elven. The subtle beauty of their magic was the effect, not the cause of their nature. Some spells took years to cast. Echoes would linger for centuries, harmonizing with new magic in an unending symphony. It must have been beautiful.
You said that the censure against blood magic was a superstition.
I did. It's fortunate Cassandra is not within earshot. Most modern cultures forbid blood magic. Publicly, even Devinter disapproves of it. But as I said, magic is magic. It matters only in how it is used.
Every time I've seen blood magic used, it's been for some evil purpose.
I once saw a woman stabbed in the stomach with a dagger. She died slowly, in agony. It was repulsive. If the Chantry outlawed daggers, would that stop people from using them? Of course not. Some would use daggers in secret, ashamed, and some would find rebellion titillating, step down the path of depravity.
You don't need to sacrifice a slave's life to make a dagger.
I suppose it depends upon the dagger. How many men have you killed while fighting for the Inquisition? How many more will you kill out of necessity? And if blood magic could help you? Well, it matters little to me. I do not use it, but I do not think it evil.
We'll talk later.
Goodbye.
I do not like having that mirror, Illuvian, in Skyhold. Corypheus may not be able to travel through it, but what if something else can?
Morrigan's our expert on the Illuvian. If you're worried, why don't you ask her?
I did.
And?
She said I was unreasonable, then offered to explain how the Illuvian works using words with less than 4 syllables.
Ah.
The Circle had a library. I'm fairly well read.
Right.
I'm not unreasonable.
Planning troop movements now.
I'm trying to imagine what it will look like when we're done. All of this once belonged to the Tevinter Imperium. Andraste changed that, as did the Blights. As for what will come next, I cannot guess the Maker's plan.
You don't have any ideas of your own?
I know I want a world where people trust the Chantry and that trust is respected. I want to respect tradition, but not fear change. I want to right past wrongs, but not avenge them. And I have no idea if my wanting these things makes any of them right.
Even if they're not right, they're certainly admirable.
Some would disagree. They would call it heresy.
That didn't sound like the ravings of a heretic, Cassandra.
Perhaps not. But it takes precious little effort to paint even an act of compassion as damaging. Tell me, what guides you? You make decisions that shake the world, yet always seem so assured. I wish I had your confidence.
You almost sound like you admire me.
I absolutely do. I may not always agree with your decisions, but how many could do what you have done? You were a prisoner, accused and reviled, yet you've emerged from every trial victorious. The Maker's grace does not make you immortal. You live or die by your own hand. That is worthy of admiration.
I'm not that assured. I just make it up as I go.
Let all your followers take heart.
What can I say? It's worked so far.
Think of it. Like Andraste long ago, once again the fate of Thedas will be determined by a woman. It makes me proud to know you.
I hope we can call each other friends.
I hope so too. We still have a long road to travel, Inquisitor. Wherever it takes us, I'm glad you're here.
With an Illuvion, Corypheus could cross into the Fade in the flesh.
Indeed, the Inquisitor can attest that these artifacts still work, if one knows how to use them.
What happens when Corypheus enters the Fade?
Why, he will gain his heart's desire and take the power of a god. Or, and this is more likely, the lunatic will unleash forces that tear the world apart.
In Redcliffe, I saw the future Corypheus built. We can't let that happen.
'Twas always so, was it not? The madman would bury us all.
Pardon me, but does this mean everything's lost unless we get to the Illuvian before him?
Corypheus has a head start, no matter how quickly our army moves.
We should gather our allies before we march.
Can we wait for them? We should send our spies ahead to the Arbor Wilds.
Without support from the soldiers, you'd lose half of them.
Then what should we do?
You overcome it. All three of you together. Josephine, have our allies send scouts to meet us in the wilds. Leliana, your fastest agents will join them. Together, we'll have enough spies to slow down Corypheus's army until Cullen's soldiers arrive.
Such confidence. But the Arbor Wilds are not so kind to visitors. Old elven magic lingers in those woods.
We'd be remiss to not take advantage of your knowledge, Lady Morgan. Please, lend us your expertise.
'Tis why I came here, although it is good to see its value recognized.
Any further instructions, Inquisitor?
We've embarked on a quest that ends in facing the most powerful monster in all Thedas. Do get a good night's sleep.
As you wish.
We'll hound Corypheus in the wilds before he can find the temple or this Illuvian.
Ryland's men will monitor the situation.
Yes, sir. We'll begin preparations at once.
In the meantime, we'll send soldiers to assist with the relief effort. That will be all.
Sir.
There's always something more, isn't there?
Long day?
I shouldn't complain. This war won't last forever. When it started, I hadn't considered much beyond our survival. But things are different now.
What do you mean?
I find myself wondering what will happen after. When this is over, I won't want to move on. Not from you. But I don't know what you... That is, if you...
Cullen, do you need to ask?
I suppose not. I want... No. Leave me. Leave me.
Bad dream?
They always are. Without lyrium, they're worse. I didn't mean to worry you.
You can let me worry about you a little.
All right. You are... I have never felt anything like this.
I love you. You know that, right?
I love you too.